I read this 3 times before I believed it. She put a lock on the fridge after eating everything I bought for weeks. My roommate ate my groceries for months, always with some excuse about being in a rush. When I finally labeled my shelf, she got offended and accused me of being controlling. But wait, there is a twist coming. 2 weeks later, she put an actual padlock on half the fridge, claiming I had been stealing her food, which never happened. I set up a small camera pointed at the kitchen. It showed her taking my labeled items 3 more times that week. What would you do? Follow for more. Buckle up, because this gets so much worse. He rode in my car every day for a year and never once offered gas money. I drove a coworker to work every single day for over a year, out of my way, using my own gas. He never once offered to chip in. Then one day he complained to our manager that my driving was too slow and made him late. But here is where it gets insane. I stopped offering him rides the next morning. He was shocked. He asked why, and I just said I heard you don't like how I drive. That's the part that stuck with me. Rewatch the first 3 seconds. You'll catch it. I cannot believe this actually happened. I picked the chat with her name in it by mistake. I wanted to complain about a coworker to my friends after a rough shift. I picked the wrong group chat, the one that included her, by mistake. But here is where it gets insane. She read every word before I even noticed. We had the most awkward, most honest conversation of our entire working relationship the next day. Make of that what you will. Send this to someone. Follow for more. You are not ready for this one. So I read her the fine print she waved at me. I worked retail, and a customer marched up waving a coupon, demanding 70% off a full-priced item. The coupon was for a completely different product and had expired 2 months earlier. But it does not stop there. When I politely explained, she exploded, screaming that I was scamming her, that the customer is always right, and demanding I be fired. A crowd gathered. I've read this 3 times, and it still gets me. What would you do? Follow for more. Buckle up, because this gets so much worse. Her story about a stranger in a parking lot did not match my dashcam. I lent my car to a close friend for one afternoon, and she returned it with a dented bumper, insisting some stranger hit it in a parking lot and drove off before she could react. My dashcam had stayed on and recorded the entire drive, including her clipping a concrete pillar while backing out of a garage, alone. But wait, there is a twist coming. I sent her the clip privately instead of posting it anywhere. She paid for the repair in full within a week and stopped asking to borrow it. I've read this 3 times, and it still gets me. Tag someone. Follow for daily stories. I read this 3 times before I believed it. I booked a place for 4 and 6 strangers showed up that night. I booked and paid for an Airbnb meant for 4 people for a weekend trip. That first night, 6 additional people I had never met showed up with sleeping bags, all invited by my friend without asking me. The host has cameras and a strict occupancy limit. I got an emergency call from the host threatening cancellation. I made every extra person leave immediately. My friend called me dramatic the entire ride home. I've read this 3 times, and it still gets me. What would you do? Follow for more. I cannot believe this actually happened. The notary caught it before he even finished explaining why he needed it signed. When our father got sick, my stepbrother suddenly became very interested in estate planning. He kept mentioning a new will, one that supposedly gave him the house. I never saw it, my father never mentioned it, but my stepbrother kept pushing to get it notarized quickly before things got worse. He showed up to the notary's office with our father in a wheelchair and a document already prepared. The notary, an older woman who had done this for 30 years, asked our father a few simple questions to confirm he understood what he was signing. He could not answer a single one clearly. She refused to notarize it and quietly called Adult Protective Services after they left. 3 days later, my stepbrother stopped visiting entirely. Turns out he had drafted the entire document himself and forged the header from an old firm letterhead he found in Dad's files. My father passed 2 months later with his real will intact, the one from years earlier, splitting everything evenly. My stepbrother did not show up to the funeral. What would you do? Follow for more. You are not ready for this one. The policy listed black shoes, but never specified a style. My manager got upset that my sneakers looked too casual and told me to wear exactly what the written uniform policy required. Nothing more, nothing less. The policy said black shoes. I wore black rain boots for a full week straight. The policy got updated within days. I've read this 3 times, and it still gets me. Watch the first line again. It explains everything. I read this 3 times before I believed it. So I replaced it with exactly what they allowed. I had a beautiful vegetable garden in my backyard, hidden from the street, that fed my whole family. My HOA, led by a busybody who hated anything she did not personally approve of, ordered me to tear it out, claiming gardens were not permitted. I checked the rules, and they only restricted front yards, but she insisted and threatened daily fines. Still can't get over how this played out. What would you do? Follow for more. I cannot believe this actually happened. He didn't realize what that text legally meant. After 3 years of loyal work, my boss fired me by text message on a Sunday night, with no warning and no reason given, specifically so he could claim it was performance-related and avoid paying the severance my contract guaranteed. He even told a coworker he was sure I was too timid to fight it. Make of that what you will. Send this to someone. Follow for more. This might be the pettiest thing I have ever heard. The chore chart never said which day to do them. My roommate made a strict chore chart and told me to follow it exactly, no changes allowed. The chart listed chores but never specified times. I started doing my dishes chore at 6 a.m. every single day, running the machine right outside her door. She rewrote the chart within a week. What would you do? Follow for more. You are not ready for this one. She let herself in while we slept. My mother-in-law had a key to our house for emergencies. To her, an emergency meant letting herself in at 7 a.m. to reorganize my kitchen because my system was wrong. I would wake up to her moving my furniture, throwing out my food, once even going through my closet. My husband kept saying she means well. Go back and watch how this started. Some people really have no shame. He presented it to the board as his own strategic vision 6 weeks later. I pitched a cost-saving idea to my manager in a one-on-one, casual conversation, nothing formal. 6 weeks later, he presented that exact idea to the board as his own strategic vision, got praised heavily, and was promoted to director within the month. I had no proof beyond my own memory, which felt hopeless until I remembered I had emailed him a rough outline the same week I pitched it, just to follow up. That email had a timestamp weeks before his big presentation. I forwarded it to HR, not asking for anything specific, just documenting it. He kept the promotion, but I got moved on to his new team at a significant raise, and he has never once taken credit for anything I have said out loud since. Somehow that wasn't even the worst part. Tag someone. Follow for daily stories. This might be the pettiest thing I have ever heard. Turns out my job description was extremely short. I kept getting handed tasks outside my role, so HR told me to just stick strictly to my written job description if I had a problem with it. My job description was 4 bullet points. I did exactly those 4 things for 2 weeks straight. The department nearly fell apart. I've read this 3 times, and it still gets me. Tag someone. Follow for daily stories. Buckle up, because this gets so much worse. He didn't know I picked up the other line. A scammer called my elderly grandmother pretending to be from her bank, telling her that her account was compromised and she needed to move all her savings to a safe account immediately and to stay on the line and tell no one. Luckily, I was visiting and noticed her getting flustered. What would you do? Follow for more. I read this 3 times before I believed it. I checked it after my daughter mentioned a stranger visiting during nap time. My daughter mentioned offhand that a man came to visit her babysitter almost every afternoon while she was supposed to be napping. I brushed it off at first, then decided to check the camera we had installed months earlier and forgotten about. What I saw was not what I expected, no danger to my daughter, but the babysitter running what looked like a small side business out of our living room, meeting people briefly, exchanging bags, always timed exactly during nap time. I called the police before confronting her directly, since I had no idea what was actually in those bags. It turned out to be a low-level resale operation, second-hand electronics, nothing violent, but absolutely not something I wanted happening in my home around my child. She was let go immediately, and the police handled the rest separately. My daughter still asks about her sometimes. I just say she moved away for a new job, which honestly is not far from the truth. Rewatch the first 3 seconds. You'll catch it. This might be the pettiest thing I have ever heard. I had been promised the role for 6 months, then he hired his friend. My manager promised me a promotion for 6 months, told me repeatedly it was basically mine. Then he hired a friend of his from outside the company and gave him the title 2 weeks after his start date. I asked HR for the job posting history. There was none. It was never posted externally, which violated company policy. HR opened an investigation. My manager was moved to a different department within a month. Tag someone. Follow for daily stories. Buckle up, because this gets so much worse. I paid extra for a permanent locker and a stranger's lock was on it. I paid a monthly fee for a permanent assigned locker at my gym. For 2 weeks straight, someone else's padlock was on it every time I arrived. Management kept saying they would handle it and never did. So I brought bolt cutters and a witness, cut the lock, bagged the contents, and left a note with the front desk's number. The stranger showed up furious. Management finally banned him after he yelled at the staff. Honestly, I don't blame them one bit. What would you do? Follow for more. This one still doesn't sit right with me. I had paid for an upgrade months earlier and watched them give it away. I paid extra for an aisle seat with more legroom months in advance for a long international flight, confirmed in writing, seat number, and all. At the gate, a gate agent quietly approached and asked if I would mind moving to a middle seat in the back because a passenger up front was, in her words, being extremely difficult about their own seating situation. I said no, politely but firmly, since I had paid for exactly what I was sitting in. She walked away, and 10 minutes later boarded and gave my exact seat to that same difficult passenger anyway, moving me without my consent while I was still standing at the gate. I refused to board until it was corrected, holding up the line briefly, which finally got a supervisor involved. They ended up moving me to business class instead, apologizing repeatedly, probably just to get me on the plane and stop the delay. The original difficult passenger got my old seat. I got 4 hours of complimentary champagne and considerably more legroom than I paid for. That's the part that stuck with me. What would you do? Follow for more. This might be the pettiest thing I have ever heard. The room went completely silent. My best man and I had been friends for 15 years. At my wedding reception, he gave a speech that started normally and then veered into recounting a deeply embarrassing story from my past that I had told him in confidence years ago. He framed it as a joke, but the room fell completely silent. My wife looked mortified. My in-laws looked horrified. Honestly, I don't blame them one bit. Tag someone. Follow for daily stories.